What's good, YouTube? So Ryan, representing Sinister Media at sinister.media. Um, what I want to talk about today is how to get the most bang for your buck out of a digital media project. Now, I know that a lot of you probably don't necessarily come from a tech company, don't work at a tech company, may have nothing to do with tech, and may not even know how to turn your cell phone on. I'm playing, but if you're hiring somebody else, it's just kind of assumed that you may not know how all this stuff works, and that's okay. That's the expectation. But I just want to give a couple quick tips and guidelines to help reduce your total cost on a project and thus maximize that bang for buck that you get out of your project. Number one, first you might be asking, why do you care, right? Why does somebody like me as a developer of technology care whether you pay more or not? I care. Okay, so one of the worst things in the world is to have the forever project, the project that just goes on and on and on. So when we're doing work, professionals don't want that. We want to maximize your bang for buck, right? I think if you have a good developer, then they're charging what they want and expect for their services, so they don't need to drag it out in order to make the money that they need. So here are just a couple of things that I can think of that will help increase the value that you get out of working with a developer. So number one is know what you want. Okay, so you don't have to know exactly what you want, but the better idea that you can have before you come to the developer, the better return on the investment that you're going to get. So it can kind of go from one way or the other. Maybe you have wireframes and actually we don't expect you to come in with wireframes and full SketchUps and everything done already and full branding already done, right? Because that's why you're coming to us. But if you can come to us with a website, a competitor, a friend, a family member, just something cool that you saw on the internet once, something your cousin sent you, I don't know, whatever. If you can bring any of that with you, from step one, then I can guarantee you that we'll get your projects done, or any developer will get your projects done much, much faster that way. Number two is also similar though, is expectations, right? So this is very similar to the number one, but the difference is just be very clear about communicating what you expect. If you expect that you can post blog articles and you expect them to go to your Facebook, say that, right? We're not mind readers. Depending on the experience level of the developers that you're working with, they might know to ask that kind of stuff, but you may want to mitigate the things that they don't know. So where the person that you're working with, communication is lacking, you can kind of save yourself some money and hassle by knowing the right things to ask and or say in advance so that the project just doesn't drag on and on and on because of miscommunication. So number three, today's, I believe we're on, is just similar, again, is be very clear. So when in doubt, communicate more, over-communicate with your team, instead of under-communicating if you have to. But again, I feel most reasons that projects drag out is just because there's just a lack of communication or expectation between the person doing the work and the person doing the delivery. It's really simple and one-on-one basics, but stuff that's very easy to forget when you're in the midst of doing your project. And the last one I'm going to put out there is trust your team. I think that sometimes people, because you're so anxious and you want it to be so perfect, you can get into a point where you want to solve the problems and tell your team how to do their job. And that's not really why you hire a team, right? If you could, if you knew exactly what you wanted and how to build it, then, you would do that. So my thing is hire people that you can trust and then trust them to get that job done. Because if you're micromanaging, then you're constantly going to have to go back and forth and back and forth. And more importantly, you may be missing a piece of information that the developer has. I can't tell you how many times somebody's come to me and been I want X, Y, Z. And I just look back at them okay, do you want me to do that? Or do you want me to solve that problem in a way that makes sense? So communicate your problems, trust your team to solve them, be clear, communicate all your expectations, and the closer to a final thing or a closer idea that you have to what you want when you're starting out, the better your team will be able to develop and deliver on that. So anyway, as always, if you want to email the gang, you can email us at inbox@sinister.media. And until next time, peace.